Hi friends, Tiffany here. Welcome to my quilting life. What is a long arm quilting machine and how does it work? That's what I'm here to tell you in today's video. My long arm quilting machine is right here. There it is. A long arm quilting machine is just a big, huge, oversized domestic sewing machine on steroids is pretty much all it is. It is just a giant machine, typically 16 inches or bigger. I consider a long arm. Anything less is just a big throat space, honestly. But mine is an 18-inch on a 12-foot, bigger than me, quilting frame. So my quilting frame, this is what makes it so huge, is 12 foot long, and its footprint, if the machine is all the way back like this, it is 4 feet wide. So that means it needs to be away from a wall and closest to some wall, because you still got to be able to walk around it and go on the backside on another wall. They take up a lot of space. Therefore, that is why mine is in the living room, because, well, that's the only room in this house that has the footprint that this needs. So we're going to go through how to load a long arm, what are the bars of the long arm, how to do the threading of the long arm, all the long arm stuff. So let's get to it. So my machine is like an off-brand brand. It's its own brand, but it's like off-brand. It's an offshoot of a bigger name company. It's not like that. I mean, the bigger name company makes this machine, but for the specs of the company that requested it to be made, if that makes any sense at all. And there's quite a few companies out there that do that. There's lots of long arm companies, and some of them also manufacture long arms for different companies under a different name, because certain places make the long arm quilting machine. It's like they, do specific things. Mine is a King Quilter 2 Elite Special Edition. The only thing that makes this special is I have a 7-inch screen on the front of mine, and it's not computerized. It's just a 7-inch screen for display so that I can do all the options, and that's what makes mine special edition, because it came with this screen instead of the small little 3.5-inch screen. Second to that, my long arm, I also have front and rear handlebars, which not a lot of people get the rear because they really don't use pantographs no more. Most people get computerized. And I have a little screen on the back. So if I want to follow pantographs, I can, because I have a laser, and I'll show you what that is to do all that stuff. Now, there are tons and tons of companies. I'm not saying in this video you have to buy a King Quilter, although the price range for a King Quilter is a lot less than if you were to go to, say, oh my goodness, now I'm going to bump those words off my brain. Moments later, I come up with, we got Gamble, AccuQuilt, Innova, then we're going to go to Handy Quilter, we have Grace Company, we have Juki, we have Baby Lock even makes long arms, and the list goes on. There's just tons of them. And then there's older ones like FAF. Gamble goes back forever, so I can't say that that's the only older one. But there's FAF machines. I even messed with one. It was a Horizon, I think it was called, when I was first shopping, and someone in town locally had one for sale. It was called a Horizon, but it wasn't what I was hoping. It was on a wood frame. Speaking of, you can get wood frame machines, or as I like to say, these ones are the metal ones, and these ones are probably better than the wood frame machines. I know a lot of people probably still have those, or they have a metal frame, but they have a tray, and you take your home machine and put it on that tray and quilt. There's one problem with that, and this is personal opinion, but there is one problem with that. Imagine your home machine is on this frame, and you just put it on there, you clamp it down. Now, put my machine about right here. Here is going to be where this 2-inch round bar right here sits at the edge of your machine when it's all the way back. So you literally have this much space right here to quilt. You're only giving yourself 6 inches, even less if you're, like, say, using the Juki TL 2010Q on a frame. Budget-wise, yeah, you use your own machine and you only got to buy a frame. Long arm quilting and learning how to do it wise, you're going to get frustrated easily, very easily. But I'm not saying you have to buy these kind of things. I'm just saying how this works for me. So I actually started on one of those and bought this afterwards. And this is how much throat space I have. Oh, wait, still going. So I can quilt from here all the way to there. And notice my arm reach, when I stand here, my arm reaches completely out. Comes all the way back. Where I have to lean. I usually don't quilt that way, but you know, I can do a lot. And I have an 18-inch machine. But do I have 18 inches of quilting space? Nope. It's just called a long arm. It doesn't mean you have that full long arm right here. So I have about 16 inches of quiltable space, and it's going to diminish as my quilt gets fatter and fatter on this back take-up bar right here. So the bigger the quilt, the less space I have. I've dwindled myself down because I did 2 queen-size quilts before on one go, and I have dwindled myself down to having only 9 inches, which is how much throat space is on my Juki Teal 2010Q. So just know that just because it's big doesn't mean it's always big. It's not going to, you know what I mean? You're still going to lose space as you go. But this is a better option, especially if you're following 12-inch pantographs to learn how to quilt, you know, and you get a pantograph on the back, which is a piece of paper. Again, I'll show you. You put it on the back and you follow the laser. You buy them for about 12 inches. 12 inches is like the perfect size for an 18-inch long arm to quilt comfortably throughout a whole queen-size quilt. So, how does this thing work? Just like anything else. First, I'll tell you what these bars are, and then we're going to turn this machine on, and nothing specifically exciting is going to happen. It's just going to turn on. So let's see what these bars are. All right. So this is my belly bar. This first bar right here is my belly bar. This one holds the backing fabric. So the backing fabric go on these cloth leaders. And my cloth leaders are kind of stiff, and that is because I have, what you see back here, I have the red snapper system. It is Renee's red snapper system, and since I've switched to this, I no longer need to pin, and I don't hurt myself, which is what happens on the belly bar. So if you want to be safe the whole time, that's the best way to do it. Bar number 2, and I gotta say this is going to be the same pretty much throughout most long arm quilting machines, no matter the brand. They're going to have a belly bar, which is your backing fabric. Then you're going to have your quilt top bar. Now, some of them are in this position up here, where it comes from up here, and some of them are going to come from underneath. So that just depends on the brand of machine that you're buying and all the stuff that you're getting with it. So that is where my quilt top will get loaded and lay flush. Then you have a bar back here, the one that I'm making bounce up and down. This is your leveling bar. Now, there are frames that only have the take-up bar, and I highly, highly, highly don't suggest doing big, huge quilts on those because they lay on the flat bed of your machine, which is, you can see, sort of, right here. I can fit not even a finger under there. So imagine if you only had the one bar back here and it filled up, you're only going to be able to get a like little lap quilts done without it feeling like it's pushing, because you don't want pushing. Then you have your take-up bar, which is the most rearest bar. That one, this cloth leader goes under like this, and you can see it keeps it level. So from this bar, which is your belly bar, to that underbar, that's how you have a level quilting space. Backing fabric, backing fabric. So that's the top. Now, that's how those work. All right, so now that we know that this is a belly bar, quilt top bar, leveling bar, and the take-up bar, let's go to other things. Mine looks different because I have a film for cameras, and I keep this here to keep it from bouncing. So this is not what it really looks like. Just take this completely away, and this is handlebars. So there's more bars on here. These are the handlebars. Now on my frame, mine are, you twist this knob and I can adjust them however I see comfortable, put them in my position, and that's where they stay. Now I prefer this type of handlebar as opposed to the kind that come up and out. This is just for my hand purposes, and this actually works for me. Great, keeps my hands and fingers from going numb. On said handlebars, you will notice there are buttons. Now there's buttons on the right side and there's buttons on the left side. Usually it's a power button, a plus sign, and a blue needle up and down, and a minus sign on either side. Most machines have it that way. There are some that just have one single button for power and one single button for something else. I have no idea. Maybe needle up and down. They're all going to be just a little bit different on what buttons are where, but every machine that I've ever looked at has a power and a plus, a needle up and down, and a minus sign on the handlebars. Now this front part is what the handlebars hook to, and then here is my screen. They are movable to adjust it for the lighting in your room. I usually keep mine in the same position. I don't ever touch it. Here we are at the rear of the machine. My rear handlebars are fixed. They do not move. They are stuck in the position they are, but it works perfect. My little tiny screen is the size screen that you would get if you didn't get the special edition one of these or upgrade to a 7-inch tablet. You get this little 3.5. It has pretty much says the same stuff everything else does. All this that you see are the encoders, and they plug into the machine, and those run a box. I'll show you in 2 seconds what it is. The purpose of these machine handles back here is there is a laser. Let's take a look. There is a laser right here on the back of my machine, which plugs into its laser port. And then when I am quilting, this laser will come out, and you can see the laser, and follow a pantograph. A pantograph is just a piece of paper. This is my own homemade one, that you lay on the bed right here at your machine, and you use that laser to follow the lines, okay, as you are doing your thing, and then you just follow it around. You wouldn't go as fast as I am in my little demonstration here, but that's what the laser is for, to follow that. But I don't only just use it for that. I take, instead of having a whole entire pantograph, say you want something specific, like a cat or a bat, and you can't do it naturally on your own because, well, you don't have a computerized, and your brain just doesn't see it exactly yet, and you haven't practiced it enough. So you can take and put a single drawing of something that you find in a book or on a computer, and then you can just follow it in, just like this with your laser, come around, do that, as you're stitching for one single design. So say you want this just in one block, you can literally sew all your stuff, come back to the back, stitch this in the one block in the direction that it would be facing, okay? And then bam, you have custom little single block designs, and you can, the world is your thing. You could take a coloring book page and just put it in a big empty section and just trace around it with the laser. So the laser is pretty awesome for stuff like that. This whole unit is the carriage. So everything that it's moving around on is a carriage. As you can see, the front wheels are pretty much on their own. The rear wheels, however, well, I'm behind the machine, but it would be on the left side if you're from the front, but on the back it's on my right-hand side. This is an encoder right here. So this little box right here comes back, plugs in, and tells the machine how many stitches per inch I'm going when I'm moving it this way, up and down, like this. Then this little one right here on the back side tells the machine which way I'm going side to side, because this box is hooked to these wheels right here. So it's this whole little unit back here that sticks on here. I never, ever, in the ownering of this long arm, have ever had to mess with my encoders. They have been correct since the day I put them on this machine. And how you know is if this wheel, oops, we try to keep them clean, if this wheel is rolling as I roll everything, then it's working. Then there's a wheel back on the rear encoder. If that is spinning and I can see through the little window, there's a little window on it, that it is spinning, I know that it is touching the rail right here of the frame and spinning when it's supposed to. Those encoders are going to tell the machine stitch regulator to go 10, 20, however many stitches per inch you're going. That's for the stitch regulator. Anything else back here? Nope. Oh, when you got your hand wheel, obviously. You really rarely ever have to turn your needle up and down using this, but every now and then when I'm trying to put a ruler underneath the foot, sometimes I have to tilt it just a little bit so I get the ruler under the foot without scraping the needle. On my frame, the thread comes from this side over here. Some machines come from back here. Some machines come from the other side. It all depends, but mine comes from here and it has a 2 stand. Then it goes up a bar and then hangs off and comes back down. I do have these on here because this is how my old camera system hooked to it, but I don't have that anymore. So I should take them off or else hook a GoPro or something to them, but these aren't here usually. I added those. Now that I've told you all about it, let's turn it on. My little meditation lady back here is got the button that goes on. I mean, really, it's that easy. That is how this machine turns on. And as you can see, my rear screen has come on. And this is, if you had only this screen, this is how this screen works. This is your precision stitch per inch. So as you're stitching, it just stops when you stop and then goes when you go. Then you have manual mode, which means you have to set that at a percentage. That means the needle goes up and down. There's no stitch regulation involved at all. You are the stitch regulator, which is what you do when you're free motion quilting on your sit-down domestic. Then there is idle mode. I have it at 5% cruise. So when I'm stitching, say I'm stitching and I'm coming to a corner, instead of the machine stopping when I stop to pivot, it will stitch up and down so that when I come around that corner, I have a nice, precise point on idle mode. And that needle will go up and down. Then it has a menu. You can change and turn whatever key you want to be for your up and down. It has all sorts of display things. Testing, you could test to make sure your encoders are working, and name the keys and so on and so forth. I'd never use the buttons back here. The one thing this screen does not come with that this screen has, we are now at the front, is this one has basting. So this one, I can change it to have my 1/2 inch basting when I start. So that rear screen doesn't have all this. This is that whole special edition thing on the 7-inch. So my home button is this. I have my precision. 10 stitches per inch is what I always stitch at. That's just me. You can change it to 12 or whatever, but if I have to rip, 10 stitches per inch is the best ripping. Then we have manual mode. I can change my percentage however I want it. 65% seems to be fast enough on this machine. I mean, it goes all the way to 100, and that means it's really going. Then we also have the idle mode on here. You can change your idle mode to be 10 stitches per inch at 5% speed, or however fast you want it to go up and down as it idles, so that when you come to a stop, it doesn't stop. The needle still goes up and down. And then you have the basting, which I love. The rest of the stuff on here, you can have it stop with the needle down, or you can change it to needle up. I choose needle down. That's all. I have a pause and play button. I'm pretty sure that has to do with something with hooking a computer to it. I don't know. Then we have the information tab, which you can see the time, how many stitches, and the timer for your bobbin, which I never set. In this screen, we have a calculator, the timer, and stitch count thing. Then I have no idea what that's for. And then health for the machine. So all the things that'll tell you slowly push it forward and backwards. You hear the beeping? It's beeping at me saying that my encoders are working. Now my side to side, it's beeping at me and telling me my encoders are working. Then rotate the hand wheel and it'll beep, but I'm not going to do that because I'm up here. And then it has telling what buttons you want your handlebar to be, rotating something, I don't even know, and then remove the bottom case and blah, 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 and do some stuff, whatever, anyway. Then this one has lighting. So on my machine, let me just Here is my lighting. So I have under lighting right here. So that's this. I turn this on and I can make it bright or dim. Then I have, let me turn that one off so you could see. Then I have needle light, which is right here. At nighttime, sometimes that's the only one I'll use. I cannot dim or bright that one. And then this one also has, let me turn that off, it has UV light. So it has a black light so that you can see glow in the dark thread or any of those threads that glow under a black light. They're not glow in the dark per se, but they glow under a black light, which I love to quilt with those. Iridescent threads is what they're called. This is what that is for. Oops, let's put a light back on so that we could see things. We'll just turn them both on for now. And then last but not least, we have the settings. So I can turn a timer alarm on, which I have because it records me. So I know how long I've been quilting, kind of keeps track for me. And then a bobbin alarm. I don't keep mine on because I never set the bobbin to what it's supposed to be. And so I never used that. And then right here is the information about my machine. So all the stuff, I have no idea anyways. It's a low stitch count on here because this is my third screen and not all the screens have the lifetime stitch count on them. They started at 0 when I got each new screen. This new screen says this here, 44, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 44,367,400. But if you go here, where is it at? This setting, which is, oh, right there. Oh, it's not going to be at it now. Now it's reset that. That had a totally different number on it. Trust me, there's billions of stitches on this machine because the original one, well, the second screen had it. This one does not. Anyway, so that's that. Like I said, I don't know if that's my timer going or something. This tablet isn't for really other use. Like it does have a home screen. Where's it at? Where do I go to it? No, you can't. It's 3 dots maybe. I don't remember, but it doesn't allow you to do much. You could turn the sound on. It takes a screenshot, which I don't even know where that goes because you can't really get to anything. Let's see. Somewhere on here. Is it going to show me? So I can change like the settings or whatever or the Wi-Fi, but I've never been able to hook Wi-Fi to this, so I have no idea. The time also does not go. Every time I turn it on, it's back to 7 a.m. So, you know, this machine, it does not hold the time because it doesn't hold the internet. So I guess that doesn't even matter. But just so you know, it does have, it's a regular tablet. I just don't know how to use it. All right, so on to how to start this machine up and everything. Bobbin goes under here. So this is the needle plate. This is the hopping foot, sorry. This is the needle bar. And your bobbin comes from under here, just like that. Now it's just like any metal bobbin case. We're going to go through this since we have it out. It does have a spring in it, so if you have the Juki TL 2010Q, you are already used to these. This is just a bigger size. And this also has to be adjusted if the tension goes away. Normally, hold on, I gotta find myself a little pair of snips right here because my thread is sticking out all funky. Get that out of there. Your bobbin goes in, and I don't even know if you can see this. The thread is coming out to my right hand. I'm going to stick my bobbin in the case. The thread is still at my right hand. I'm going to slide it in the slot. There is a nice little slot right here. And then up and out this little hole right there, which you can't even see because it's not going to focus. And then to test it, stick it in your hand. And if it comes out nicely and doesn't lift out of your hand, but lifts up in your hand, then it is good. Okay? So that is my tension, but if you have the extra money, you can buy a TOA gauge, which you stick your bobbin in there, the case with the bobbin in it, and you slide it in, up, over, and through this and pull, and mine is always between 150 and 200 when I pull on it for glide thread. It's usually 150, 175, just like that, and well, that's pulling it way hard, yanking it. That's not the measurement. The consistent pull is my measurement, As you can see, oops, stop touching with my fingers. That's where it is, between 150 and 200. That's glide thread. So you can spend $80 and buy one of these. Can't find it any cheaper. Or you can just do it the test in your hand way, which is, again, sticking it in your hand. If it lifts up in your hand and comes out, it's good. If it lifts out of your hand, it's too tight. And if it doesn't lift the bobbin case at all in your hand, then it is too loose. But right here, just lifts it up and holds it in my hand nicely and comes out beautifully and makes a nice, lovely thread disaster that you have to clean up later. Your bobbin goes in here. Notice all the dust. Now, I did this on purpose for you guys for this video. I did not clean it in advance. I want you to be able to see that you do have to do maintenance on your machine. So before you pop your bobbin in here, this was me quilting a giant quilt, and you could buy these lovely brushes here that look like this online, or you can just go to your dollar store and get yourself a big makeup brush and then smush the end of it right here. So that way it can fit under the thing. So what I usually do is we take the vacuum to it. I'm not going to do that right now, but we take right here, I stick my hand under it. Oh, let's see if I can even do this with the camera right there. And I stick my brush in there and see I flattened it out so it fits under the bobbin case. And then I slide it out. And just in one swoop, look at that. Just gets it all out of there. I'm going to toss that real quick. And then I'm going to go another swoop in and go up to the top and grab everything up at the top. Right there. Try not to have it fall on the floor, but you know, that's how it works. And then when I know I got all the big chunks out, I just go around it and around it like this, getting inside the bobbin area, and that's it. So that is how the maintenance on that is taken care of. Between quilts, I always take my little brush thing and swipe on the track to get the dust off the track. I do it from the front and from the back. Not only do I get that dust, but I get the dust on the sides. I grab the dust on all this, and notice it sticks to my makeup brush, and then I just clean that makeup brush or tap it off usually into the trash, and I just grab all the dust that settles. Then I roll my wheels like this with the brush in it, get all the stuff out of that wheel, get all the stuff out of this wheel, and then I'll go to the back and repeat that process on the back of the track. So I try to keep all this clean of dust between quilts, and then once a week wipe down the whole entire track with a damp rag, getting all the dust here, there, everywhere, and so on and so forth. This piece right here allows me to go in this quick corner right there and pull any dust and lint out of the hole that's back behind the bobbin area in there. You can't see that on camera, but there's a hole back there, and I grab whatever lint from building up in the machine bed itself right in here. It gets a buildup in there. I try to prevent that by cleaning that out. Thread path. So as I said, mine hooks to this, goes up, up, up to there, and then comes to the front right here into this first hook. So it slides into that first hook, and I probably should have showed you guys how to thread it by actually threading it. We're going to hook it into this hook right here. So there's a little hook right there. Then we're going to go between the tension discs. Just like any machine, there are tension discs. You see these things that I'm pulling on? Those are the discs. This is the tension, like, I call this like a little knobby thing, but it's really not. This is the knob. But I'm going to go between those discs until I hear it click. For me, it clicks because I know that it's right. So it's clicking in there. I'm going to pull it around because I knew it clicked in there. And then I'm going to pull my thread back to my right side. I'm going to come back to the left, and it grabs this little doohickey thing, and that's how that is threaded. So we go down into the discs. You can hear it snap if your tension is good. Around, back to the right, and then grab this going back to the left. Now I'm going to go under this bar that's right here, under this bar, and then up with it, right to here, to my take-up, just like any other machine. Cut this excess off. I don't need it to be that long. I'm going to go through the hole on mine. Some are a hook, some are a hole. Mine is a hole. All right, and as the camera falls down on its own, we're going to come down, 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 right to here. And then there's this squiggly thing right here. For me, or for you, it looks not squiggly. But trust me, it's squiggly. So I'm going to go in it, and then it hooks and spins around. Now it's stuck in that hole. I have an add-on on my machine. This is not on other machines. This does not even get used. It's just on here to get it off. There is a plastic thing that goes around the light, and over the years with billions of stitches, it caused the thread to cause a slit in it, and then it was getting stuck and shredding. I have never had problems since we added some, what is this called? Electrical tape, and then a clip to hold it because it was going through the electrical tape too. So now it just sits right on the outside of this. This does not exist on your machine, but just know eventually the more you stitch, the more chances you have of rubbing a slit into this and then your thread getting caught in it always. Now let's go down to the needle. Once your thread has gone through the little hooky thing that spins, there is a hole usually in front of the needle on the thing, and we're going to slide the thread through that and grab it and pull forward. Now I want to show you, this is why I added this clip on here, because the thread pulls, see how it's just pulling? It sits right there at all times. It never really moves from there, but that is how it created the hole. And you can already see on the metal that it actually has made itself a little mark on the metal because the thread always rubs right there. Just saying, that happens. This is polyester thread. It is man-made, so, you know, it's not a natural fiber. So obviously, it's going to rip and tear things. Once you're threaded through this hole, it goes through the needle. Now, on a long arm, your needle threads from front to back, just like that. Okay, if your needle is in sideways, everything is wrong. All of it is bad. Start over. You need to change your needle and change the position. Now that we're here, we're going to change the needle and change its position. So I'm going to take my finger and pull the thread out of the needle because we don't need it in there for this. But now we're going to change the needle. This is my go-to needle right here, the Groats and Beckert. I use these for the long arm. You will notice it's going to say some 134 MR, okay? And it's also going to have a DPX 5 MR on most of these. This number will change, but this is what it usually is. I'm using 110/18 is what I'm using. And then that's it. That's what I'm using. Then we need the little tool because we need to pop the needle out of there. So I'm going to go ahead. First thing I do is grab a new needle. And I place it right there on the bed behind it. Then I have a bad needle bag. I just throw them all in here because I'm going to do an art project with all my needles in the future. Trust me, it's going to be interesting. But someday in the future, I'm going to do my little art project. I'm going to go ahead and unscrew it. There is a little tiny piece that this goes on right here on this side. And I'm going to pop that needle loose. Now that it's loose, I can just slide it out. Okay? Here is the old needle. You can tell it looks brand new, but it really isn't. So there's the needle. Now I'm going to show you the things on the needle with the new one because I'm going to grab that after I put this needle inside this bag. I'm not sure how well this is going to focus. If I keep both my hands here, you can see it. The front of the needle has this little slice in it. Do you see that where my fingernail is poking? So that's how I rub the needle down, the thread into that little ditch and then into the hole. It goes in almost every single time, most times first try. On the back side of the needle, can you see, if I turn it sideways, how it creates that little arch looking thing? It goes in right there. That is the back side of your needle. Most long arms are going to be putting your needle in with that arch in the back. So if I hold it close, you can see, focus right there, that arch. And then the front side is flat with like a straightaway in it. All right, so remember, the arch thing goes in the back. So I'm going to hold it with my needle super flat in my fingers, and I'm going to slide it into that hole, and you want to go all the way up. You're literally shoving that thing up there. I'm going to make sure that my needle hole is straight, and it is. They do make a thing that you can buy to hook it in there and make sure it's straight. And I'm going to give it a soft close. Check it once, and look, my needle's in there exactly straight this first time. It's all the way in. Make sure it's all the way in, and then tighten it, and that's it. That's how that works. If you want to change the foot of your machine, I use the same tool for mine. Your machine might be different. Just slide that out of there, lift that, drop it, and put on a different foot. This is a spoon foot. I use this for bulky seams. I'm not going to actually hook it on, but this goes on, and then you would re-screw that back on here. A lot of people would keep the spoon foots on their machine when they're using their computerized system. This is my ruler foot that I always have on the machine. I don't ever take the ruler foot off. I just leave it on at all times because, you know, I can. It got stuck on the needle. All right, so now I'm just going to tighten this ruler foot back on here. Spinny, spin, 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 spinny, spin, spin. And then make sure that it's nice and tight because this one will fall off if it's not nice and tight. The plastic one, I don't go as tight because that one's plastic and it is a $70 foot for the machine. So just know that the parts and pieces are expensive for this. All right, now that that's on there, we're just going to go with the new needle. This is going to go back through that front hole, and then the thread literally slides down this right here and into the hole. See? Oops, there it goes. I can't do it when I'm on camera with my left hand. It goes right into the hole. It literally catches every time perfectly. Now that we're threaded, now that we, got to put our bobbin in there. We're going to go wind some bobbins and choose thread color for our project and load our project and get that started. All right, don't mind my mess here. This is just my little tray of stuff. I keep all the things I need right here, like my channel locks, which are plastic that hook on the wheels. Literally, so easily, like that. I only use one side. I don't even bother with putting both on there, but this locks it so that I cannot go forward and backwards. And then if you put it on the front side, I can't do that right now because of the position, but you can put it under there on the front side, on the front of the wheel, and lock it from going side to side as well. Now, I don't use both of them, but that's just that. Most machines come with this ridiculous, some of them have whatever, but this one is just the bobbin winder. I use thread nets for my thread. I use glide thread, and I always buy 2 spools of the same color. This one's going to go on the machine. Oops. Let's make sure that it's, there it is. This one is going to go on the machine, and I'll show you how I switch thread colors from the color that's currently threaded in there. I'm going to set that aside, and then this one, pop that out of there. There's notches. That's where you would hook your thread in. I'm going to pop that out, put this in a net as well. Bring it up, put it on that thread, and then thread it through the top thing right here. See that top thing right there, that hook? That's where it goes through. This is really, really, really easy. I'm just going to go through this hole right here on this back side. Make sure you check your instructions for yours because not everybody's are going to be exactly the same, but this is just a generic thread bobbin winder. So I'm just going to slide my thread through the tension discs just like anything else. Pull it through. And then I'm going to pop a bobbin on here. This uses M-style bobbins. I'm just going to pop it down on here. It'll show you how to turn the, some of them come with them right. This one I had to set it up. Like this wasn't on here and neither was this. And it wasn't on this tray either. I'm going to wrap it around. So I'm going to wrap around once, go under. I know you're not probably supposed to do this. And then go around 2 more times. That's all I do. Then I hold my tail and press start. And it winds my bobbin just like that. Now I wind, when I do big projects, I wind a bunch of them. I buy them by the giant pack. This is what I have bought. We Bought 100 packs of these. You can tell I go through them, a lot of them, because I pre-wind all of my bobbins. And I keep a drawer back here with all of my bobbin cases. So I need cherry because that's the color I'm using right now. So I'm going to pull out my cherry with my thread number. I literally keep it in these cases with tons of pre-wounds in case I do little projects. I can always grab the color that I need, bring it up to the top, cut this guy off right here. Oops. My little snips and make a stack of them. I do have plenty rolled here, so I only need like 3 probably rolled. So I will do that. I roll them as I go sometimes. So there that rolls. Let's see, what else do you need to know while we're back here? This is my normal, always, everyday bobbin case, but you can go ahead and buy yourselves more. I have numbered mine so that I know which one was my original, and they all are set at the same exact tension. There's another one right here, so I have them all and they're all set at the same exact tension, so I can swap it out if I drop it on the floor and I can't find it. I just grab another one. Under my long arm, I do keep these we got from Walmart. They're little rollaway bins. One, again, was full of my bobbin. The next one, I keep all of my isocord thread in. And further down, I keep all my other random ones and some rulers that don't fit anywhere else. My next one, I keep all my browns, and rulers are in every drawer. So rulers for every single kind of project that I possibly would need rulers for, every drawer has them in. So here's my browns, my black and whites and grays. And then down here, I have my pantographs and books and things like that. Further over, we have a bottom drawer of purple, blue, then green. Notice they're in rainbow order. Yellow, oranges, and pinks. And this was what works for me. And notice I put all my pink rulers in the red and pink drawer. This is what works for me. You can do thread stands if you want or whatever, but this keeps the dust off of my thread in these bins. Further down, here's the bed that Thumper used to jump in all the time, but I keep extra rulers that don't fit again in the other drawers and have different angles that I would need. I also keep DVDs if I want DVDs to watch. And then down in the bottom, I have books. And then this one's empty because it's just there to hold his bed up. On the front side of the long arm, I have the thing where I keep all the things I'd need on front, my TOA gauge, my needles, my tools, discarded needles. Then I have some more rulers. These are my always grab rulers. These are my Angela Walters rulers. I always grab those. And then the bottom drawer is the stuff that comes with the machine or parts and pieces or the instructions for rulers and stuff. This also has a table on it that I built myself. This is just a cabinet from a bathroom. I found it in the trash and I repurposed it for this. And it serves as a table for me on the top part where I keep my ruler base. So this is a ruler base, which is very filthy at the very moment because this house is very dusty at the moment. My ruler base, which goes on the machine, just like this. It slides into the slots and then slides on there. Obviously that doesn't stick out right there, but I just threw it on there so you can see. And then it comes off just as easy. It goes on. At the long arm, I also keep an iron. I don't keep it plugged in or turned on or anything, but when I need to iron, I steam quilt backs. And then I also keep a speaker so that I can listen to music really loud while I'm quilting. And then highly, highly suggest anti-fatigue mats if you have a hard floor. Mine have seen better days, but eventually I'll get some newer and better ones. Things I suggest keeping at your long arm is a good flashlight. You really want a good flashlight to look underneath your long arm unless you have lights underneath there. Keep snips as many places as you possibly can. Always have yourself a seam ripper and then anything that you would need. I keep Tic Tacs here, in case I want a Tic Tac. I keep the oil for my machine, which on this machine I only oil the hook, which is on when you put the bobbin in, there's a hook. I only oil that. I keep the pins here in case I need them, but I don't use them anymore. I also keep a measuring tape because I do client quilts as well. And then, just random other junk. I keep a spray bottle of water, hand sanitizer, just the things you would need while you're at your quilt. All right, so the last and final thing I really want to tell you about real quick before we get to anything else, lighting. Lighting is heavily important. Now, our living room doesn't get the right amount of light because it's shaded by some cover and the sun is on that side of the house all day. In the summertime, I don't have that. The window is closed. There's never really any light in here, so it's not as bright as it is right now. Therefore, they do sell systems for long arms. It's a lighting system that goes up, across, and down. They are kind of expensive, but if you get it as a deal with your machine, I highly suggest that. I just so happen to have a hanging light that we ran the cord up here because, you know, it made it easier. And this light and then the side lights are plenty because it creates a shadow and I can see what I'm doing. Plus the machine has lights. That's the last thing I want to add about long arms and what you would need, or the things, you know, to make things better when you're learning to long arm, is good lighting. All right, so now is the time. We are going to load it. Now, I know it's been a long video so far. Remember, this is your backing fabric or your belly bar. Quilt top bar I don't use. You're going to see us pick it up and put it on the floor. It's just up here to keep it away from the cat. And then my leveler bar is the bottom one on the back, and the top one is my take-up bar, which is also on the back, and the backing fabric goes on that. So let's load a quilt. First thing I do is with my leaders, I actually use the quilt top bar as a burrito method to lay this on because I have red snappers and I want them to sit just right. That red snapper thing runs along the bar and it gives me something to press against when adding the snapper on here. Then we also have to make sure that the machine head is completely and utterly out of the way. And we're going to take the quilt backing and we are going to throw it. I'm also loading two quilts at the same time, by the way. Over the back, and I'm going to put the whole entire large amount of it over the back. And now my burrito has nope, stop pulling. When you go back this way, has undone itself because I'm filming. That's why. All right, I'm going to take this as the salvage. Here is the thing. When you have a long arm, you need to find ways, while he does that thing, to make everything work better for you. The seam of your backing fabric really matters. Now this has no seam, it's a 108, so I'm going to hook the salvage on the top and the salvage on the belly bar. It's just going to run salvage to salvage. If you have a seam and it's this way, you're vertical, you don't want that because it's going to create a bump right here and a bump right here and your sides are going to sag. The best way to do any seam for a long arm is horizontal seam. So literally having a seam that runs from that side to this side of your fabric. So piecing it, cutting it horizontally, you know, cutting your yardage and piecing it that way. Best way to load it, or just load your quilt sideways. All right, so there's that tip for you. Just going to hang this over by just a little bit. And then I'm going to use my red snappers. Very easy. The canal, there's a channel in here, or canal, literally hooks to what's in my cloth leader. And I literally just snap it on. Grab that second one and snap it on. As long as the selvage stays in the same spot all the way down, I'm good. And the more you use your red snappers, the easier they are to snap on. All right, so that's on there. I'm going to go to the back of the frame real quick because we didn't do this. Since Scott's helping me, it kind of distracts me when I'm on camera. All right. We're going to release it now. And he is going to roll, and I am just going to smooth it out along the way. So I'm just going to make sure that it stays nice and smooth. It's pressed. If it's not pressed, take your spray bottle that you keep at your long arm and spray it along the way. Relax all those wrinkles out. If you need more, again, iron for steam. helps. And I try to do this as fast as he rolls. I try to just go back and forth as he's rolling, smoothing it, because I don't like wrinkles and I like mine to be rolled on the bar nice and tight. I don't have it loose, ever. I always roll it nice and tight. I have a better quilting experience this way and flatter quilts. This is a 108, by the way, so it took a minute to roll it on there. Then I go to the back of the frame, lock that bar. I lock the front bar so we can't pull on it. I grab, we're just going to drop that. I'm going to grab this take-up bar with my cloth. I'm going to go under my leveler and back over again, creating a burrito. And I have so much junk in the way back here right now. I probably should have thought about that while I was filming. Now we're going to take, can you pass me that? Put this back over where it needs to be. Usually it just stays there. And now it's exactly where I need it to be. I'm just going to take my snappers. I'm using my leveler bar to push these against. Again, it goes pretty darn easily. And I literally just snap it on. My leveler bar is the snapping bar, allowing my red snappers to have something to have a hardness behind them. Makes it easier to snap them on that way. I always do the burrito method only because I find it to be more easier. Even when I pinned, I did the burrito method. Instead of just laying it on the table and hoping that it would be straight, because you don't want that. You don't want to lay your quilt top on the table and hope that it stays straight the whole time you snap it on. Roll the bar up. Stop about enough to where my red snappers are right at the top of the frame. We're going to come close. Oh, and he's going to move that bar first. And that's how that goes. Just so that you can see, the backing fabric on mine and most frames I've looked at so far comes up and over. So it should be coming off the top of the bar, not from underneath the bar. It does not come from underneath the bar because then it's not going to be level when it gets to the top. It comes from off the top, goes to the top, under the leveler bar, and up. Okay? So it always comes off that way. Just like that. So that's how that goes. Then I just grab some batting right here. And batting, just in case you didn't know while we're here on this video, one side is smooth and flat and the divots go inward, kinda. The other side has pokies. That pokey side goes down on the long arm. That is the way the needle has punched the fabric, going downward like that. So there that is, and then I am putting my quilt tops on here sideways. So I literally just gonna put it on here sideways, about an inch down from my bar. So if my bar lands right here, I want this to be about an inch down on mine, centering it on here. And then we also have side clamps, but first we baste. So let me pull that thread through real quick because I forgot to show you how to change the thread color. The old thread has been taken off. The new thread needs to go on. So I'm just going to put it up there. I'm going to grab its tail and hook it to the old thread's tail and just tie them together. Make a nice tight little knot. And then from the front side, you're going to pull the old thread through. Now I like mine to be under here. When I pull it, then I just yank it all the way through until the new thread color is in there, and it pretty much goes right into the hole all by itself. And then I grab the bobbin and the color that I'm using, pop it in there. We already checked the tension, which I showed you. Place it into the palm of your hand. lift it up. If it lifts in your hand up like that, then it's good. If it lifts out of your hand, which I can't forcefully do, then you need to adjust it with the little screw that's right here on the back side. There's a little screw. And you just adjust it there. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. And then I'm going to change the machine to a baste. I'm going to baste this real quick, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to show you the clamps. I always baste around and down the sides, and once the sides are done, we have these clamps that are over here on the side. I'm going to pop them out, run under here, grab that quilt top or quilt back just like that on that side, grab the other one, grab the quilt back, and then I'm going to hook these in here, but not too tight. So I'm just going to snap it in, snap it in. And so you can see it's still very, very loose. It's not yanking, tugging, or pulling too much on the side. And then I'm going to go to the other side and repeat. Oh, not enough space. I'm just going to unhook it. It's against the wall, so it's kind of hard to do. Hook it to the backing fabric. I do not hook it to the batting. I want the batting to be freely moving. The back fabric is the only thing I need to hook it to. So it's just hooked under there and then snapped into the side. And that is now hooked here and under there because the batting's kind of big. One last thing should cover the rest of this. Oops, let me move the head just a little bit out of the way. One last thing to cover this. Everyone says the quilt looks tight. It's not. It's very, very, very bouncy. But to know if it is too tight or too loose, take your finger, first finger, second finger, it doesn't matter, whatever finger, stick it under there and grab it. See, I can grab my finger. That means my quilt top is the perfect tightness. It just looks tight usually on camera. And I do smooth mine out as I go. I do not allow it to be super wrinkly or anything. So I keep it nice and smooth. But again, just your finger. That's how you know. If you can grab your finger, you're good. You're quilting along and you have to look. I always look when I first start. I take my flashlight, my handy dandy flashlight. I turn it on and I go underneath with my whole body, literally like this. And I look at my tension under there, which is good. So here's the tension spiel. If your tension, if you have eyelashes on the bottom underneath, your top thread needs to go back up. If you have eyelashes on top, your top thread needs to go back down. But most times that means it's the bobbin is too loose if you get eyelashes on the top. But if it's not and your bobbin tension is good and everything's set just right, then you take your top thread and put it back to the bottom. To change that, there is your tension knob right there. So again, eyelashes on the bottom of your quilt, you're going to turn this dial clockwise to bring the tension back up. Sometimes it barely needs a turn. Sometimes you need to turn it twice, all the way around. Then if you have eyelashes on the top, counterclockwise on this dial brings it back down to the bottom and puts everything equal. The whole goal is to have your thread meet in the middle. So as you can see how my knuckles kind of intertwine like that, that is what's happening with the thread. It creates a knot and they sit in between the layers of fabric, pretty much equal, like this. So if the top thread is you're having eyelashes on your top, you need to go back down towards your bobbin or change your bobbin tension first. Then if that's good and you're having eyelashes now on the bottom, that means righty-tighty, righty or clockwise is going to take your bobbin tension and pull it back up, bringing those eyelashes to the top and hopefully meeting in the middle. Best place to practice and get your tension correct is on a side piece to the side. Load something to the side. So if you have enough backing fabric on the side, just put a little square of fabric and get your tension correct on the side before you work on your quilt. But mine's usually pretty good, so I just start going. I don't get very far in case I have to pick it out. And then I look underneath with my flashlight. So that is how that tension goes. Again, it's going to go clockwise to bring it up to the top and counterclockwise to bring the thread back down to the bottom to create that interlock that it needs to create for good tension. And that, my friends, is the long arm in a nutshell. It took a long video to do that, but now I'm ready to quilt. So if you don't have any more questions, or if you do and you're thinking to yourself, you can ask me in the comments and we'll be happy to respond to all of your questions. But again, King Quilter 2 Elite Special Edition is the machine I have. I'll put a link to it in the description of this video. Everything else is the same as any other long arm. They may have the threading comes from a different angle, and they may have thread like maybe one more disc or something like a pre-tensioner or so on and so forth, but pretty much it's the same as threading your domestic sewing machine that you pieced your quilt top with in the first place. Same as the bobbin. Pops down in a little case and goes underneath the thing. Really easy to get to. When you're quilting and you need to change it out, you just reach under, move the head of the machine to one side or the other, pop that baby out, put a new one in, and bam, you're good to go. So this is the long arm. This is how much space it takes up, but this is going to be how easy I quilt it. I'm going to be done in 20 minutes. And if you need any design ideas or you just need somewhere to start, don't forget I have a whole entire playlist of all sorts of long arm quilting ideas for you guys. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.